So have you ever wondered how you can turn the trucking industry into a business you can run from anywhere? Well, as a freight dispatcher, you have a very high revenue potential, a low overhead cost, and you have the ability to work from anywhere. So what is freight dispatching? As a freight dispatcher, one of the main tasks you're going to handle is booking loads for owner-operator truck drivers. And you also act as a consultant and a mentor for owner-operators. As an owner-operator truck driver, they have two parts of their business. They own the business and they also operate the business. So that means they have to run a business and they have to drive the truck, which comes with a lot of tasks. And you, as the freight dispatcher, what you want to do is you want to handle as many of those owner tasks as possible and take those tasks off of their hands. And you can do that from anywhere in the world, including your home office, while your owner-operator truck drivers are on the road driving. And the great thing about being a freight dispatcher, it has such a high revenue potential. Really, it has an unlimited amount of revenue potential because you can sign on more truck drivers, and the more truck drivers you sign on, the more money you make, and there's no limit to the amount of truck drivers that you sign on. Me, myself, I made it up to about dispatching 8 trucks. And then after that, I was kind of stuck because I figured I couldn't dispatch any more trucks because I was so busy with those 8 trucks. And then a light bulb went off in my head, and that was to hire other dispatchers and let them work for me for a percentage of the money. So now I wasn't making as much money per owner operator because I had to split it with a dispatcher that I hired on, but this allowed me to hire on or sign up an unlimited amount of trucks because the only thing I had to do was hire more dispatchers. By giving some of the value to someone else, to another dispatcher, and splitting some of it with myself, that allowed me to make more money because I found out a way to dispatch unlimited amount of truck drivers. Not me personally, but my business. So instead of being self-employed and only me working within the business, what I learned to do was actually build and scale a business. And it's quite easy to make $100,000 per year. There's many dispatchers making anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 per month or even more. But one of the biggest steps most freight dispatchers miss is marketing and sales. Marketing and sales changed everything about my business, and it allowed me to sign on more owner operators. And that's one of the main things I'm going to be teaching in my upcoming 3-day freight dispatching workshop. Click the link below to get more information on that. But in that workshop, I'm going to start off with teaching you marketing and sales because that is the most important part of owning any business, and that's the part that most freight dispatchers miss. Mostly when people come into this industry and they want to be a freight dispatcher, they're only thinking about the dispatching part. As a freight dispatcher, it does come with finding and booking loads, negotiating rates with brokers, and tracking the time that your owner operators have been driving on the highways. But that's one thing. That's only the operations department within your freight dispatching business. But before the operations department, you have the marketing department. And marketing is how you're going to draw in leads. And leads turn into signed up drivers, which turn out into revenue for your company. So you need to start first with knowing how to attract leads to your company, which I'm going to be teaching in that 3-day workshop. That 3-day workshop is the beginning stages of my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp. So my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp, I teach you everything that you need to know about starting and scaling a freight dispatch business. We have a community, a group chat. We do weekly Saturday boot camps where I'll be able to help you every step of the way, and I'll give you a simple process to success. But in the 3-day workshop, I'm going to teach you a small part of my boot camp to get you going. And by enrolling in that 3-day workshop, you're going to be able to save money on my boot camp if you're looking to take the full version of my course that I have to offer. But moving right along, if you want to become a freight dispatcher, you need to study marketing first, because studying and learning about marketing, you're going to be able to sign up an unlimited amount of truck drivers and make an unlimited amount of revenue. The more truck drivers you sign up for your freight dispatching company, is the more money you can make. So at first I struggled with this concept because I got my freight dispatching business up into about 8 drivers. I was dispatching 8 drivers making $20,000 per month. And then I was thinking, well, how am I going to take on any more drivers? I had a solid pipeline of drivers coming into my company, still reaching out to me even after I was dispatching 8 drivers making $20,000 per month. And I had a hard time figuring out how I was going to take on more drivers, and more were reaching out to me. Then I had a light bulb moment go off in my head. I figured I could hire more dispatchers to work within my company. And of course, I had to pay them some of the money that I was making from the truck drivers, but it allowed me to keep some of the money. So by distributing some of the value, meaning money, to other dispatchers, and then me also keeping a certain percentage of the money, allowed me to sign up more truck drivers utilizing the dispatchers that I trained to work for me. And that pretty much led me to passive income, right? So if I wouldn't have had more drivers reaching out to me than I needed, I wouldn't have been able to get my company to a point of passive income. Because if I was only dispatching about 3 or 4 drivers and I didn't have any more reaching out to me, that would have kept me busy in the operations department of my business, or in the dispatching department. I wouldn't have been able to hire other dispatchers. I wouldn't have had a need to hire other dispatchers. So what you want to do from the beginning of your freight dispatching business, you want to create a problem for yourself. And that's what I teach the members of my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp to do, is create a problem for yourself. And the problem you want to create is having too many drivers that want to sign up for you. Then you can dispatch by yourself, right? And in creating that problem, it's going to force you as a chief executive officer to come up with a solution. And that solution is hiring other dispatchers to work for you. So if you don't create the problem of having too much demand, too many drivers wanting you to dispatch them, and when I say you, I don't mean you as an individual, I mean as a company. Too many drivers wanting to sign up for your company is going to cause you or force you to hire other dispatchers to work for you. And by doing that, you can make an unlimited amount of revenue, because the more drivers you sign up for your company, you can always hire more dispatchers to work for you. And that's going to bring more income to the dispatchers to work for you and yourself as a business. And then it's going to allow you to work yourself out of the business. You don't want to work in the business all the time as a chief executive officer. You want to work on the business, because if you get too busy working within the business with your current drivers, that's going to give you another problem. The problem you're going to have then is you're not going to be able to work on the business as a chief executive officer. And whenever you start any business, what you want to do is start off doing the day-to-day activities yourself. But then when you get too many customers for you to do all by yourself, that's when you hire other people to work for you, and you work yourself out of that position. What I see too many dispatchers doing is just playing the guessing game when it comes to marketing and sales, and they only get about 2 or 3 truck drivers, and they get so busy with those truck drivers and working in the business, they forget to market their business, failing to remember the marketing is what caused them to get those first 2 or 3 drivers. And then eventually, just like any business, customers don't stick with you forever. That's why you need a pipeline of customers, or a pipeline of drivers, in this case, always coming into the business, because certain drivers are going to stick with your company different amounts of time, just like any business. So by having that pipeline of drivers coming in, replenishing drivers that leave, you're going to always be able to stay in business. But if you're always working in the business, just like most people, you're going to forget to market your business. And it's a manifestation. It's a step-by-step process. Your marketing attracts leads. Then your sales departments signs those leads up for your company or converts those leads into drivers. And then next you have your customer support department. That's where you gather all the paperwork needed, your freight dispatch agreement, and then the W-9, certificate of authority, and certificate of insurance from the driver, and that's your customer support department. And then next and finally at the bottom of your pipeline, you have your operations department. That's where you actually dispatch the drivers. So when you first start your freight dispatch company, you will be wearing all these hats. You have to realize when you're working in the marketing department, when you're working in the sales department, when you're working in the customer support department, and when you're working in the operations department. But by increasing your pipeline, and what a pipeline is, it's a sales system, a sales strategy to always have leads and drivers coming into your company. That's what I'll be teaching you in my 3-day workshop. That's also what I teach in my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp. But you need a consistent flow of drivers coming into your company, and you need to always know how to increase that flow of drivers coming into your company. And by increasing that flow of drivers and having too many drivers, then you can dispatch by yourself. You're going to be able to hire other dispatchers to work for you, and then that's going to allow you to actually be able to grow your company and build out your company, right? The more drivers you have or the more customers you have in any company actually allows you to build it out in different ways, right? It allows you to hire dispatchers to work for you. It allows you to promote one of those dispatchers to the dispatch manager, and this way you can work on your company and not in your company. Because as the chief executive officer, what you need to be worried about is increasing the amount of leads coming into your company at all times, or increasing the amount of drivers coming into your company at all times, because this is going to increase your revenue. And if you get too busy trying to dispatch drivers yourself, you're going to get too busy to market your company, and you're going to forget about that because you're going to place too much concern on your current customers. That's why it's important from the beginning of your business to build a system that always attracts drivers into your company. And this is how you're going to be able to have unlimited revenue and to scale your company, leading to passive income. And then you can work from anywhere in the world, and you're just going to be managing the drivers that work for you. But if you have any questions, please comment down in the comments of this video. Look in the description at my upcoming 3-day workshop and my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp. I thank you for watching this video.